Bada bing, bada boom. It's getting a little late, people, so I gotta keep the noise down. Rock and metal tier band. Rock and metal band tier or something like that. You're listening to DEZ, that's Des at KOTP that's King of the Pit TV. We've got a whole bunch of bands, classic bands ahead of us. We're gonna have to rate them out with people. Any disagreements, let me know down below. Any agreements, let me know down below. Any interesting comments, let's discuss. Might take us a while, this one. So, AC/DC from the get-go. Listen to a few AC/DC records on this channel by now. I've enjoyed them. AC/DC have got some tunes that make you feel unstoppable. AC/DC from the get-go, you're A tier, alright? Not S, because you have to be something special for me to put you in S, but there we go. What we got here? Is that Aerosmith? Aerosmith. We've only listened to the debut record on this channel, and I didn't think too much of it. But as a whole, from the singles I've heard, Aerosmith are good. When I was younger, Don't Want to Miss a Thing, even though Tyler didn't write it himself, considering they had possession of the song, I put the song out under Aerosmith, because I think it was meant for somebody else. Initially, it was written for someone else. Don't Want to Miss a Thing, Love in an Elevator, Dude Looks Like a Lady. Aerosmith, for the time being, you get to go in C tier. You got some great hits. Overall, I don't know enough about you to raise you to a higher degree. Alanis Morissette, at this moment in time, I've only heard, is it Jagged Blue Pill? It was good. There's some brilliant, unique songs on there. Great performance. The musicians involved were good. Do I know enough about Alanis Morissette? Did I enjoy it so much I went back to the record afterwards? No. Alanis, because of the quality of music I've heard from you so far, you can get with Aerosmith, C tier. Alice in Chains. I enjoyed their acoustic recordings. I listened to the live session, the MTV Unplugged. Unfortunately, it didn't make it through to the channel for copyright. I didn't think it was fantastic. It's going to be a controversial one. Alice in Chains. No, I'm not going to put him in D. You get to go in C tier, Alice in Chains, purely as I did enjoy some of the acoustic stuff. I thought it was pretty bloody good. Alright, there you go. Arctic Monkeys, I don't know enough about you. I've only heard so much of the debut. Yep, Arctic Monkeys are a local band to me. I know they've broken the States years ago. Arctic Monkeys, as far as being local and the success of the band and what I've heard from their debut, the individuality and the approach they took, I would give them a B, but I don't know enough about the band. Once again, C tier. Who's this? Audio Slave. Never listened to Audio Slave. The Beatles. Not heard much of the catalogue. Now this is where it gets controversial. I listened to Please Please Me. For some reason, they are above the law. You try to do any Beatles reactions, they just get copyright stricken to above and beyond, even though, you know, you are in your right to do so. Reaction is fair use of copyright, but, you know, whomever is possessing the Beatles catalogue, beg to differ. You know what? Because of that, Beatles, purely because of that, because you think you can bend the law or whomever is on their side, you get a D. Beatles, D tier, alright. Rage Against the Machine, B tier. Great riffs, great attitude, great punk, great groove, heavy. Rage, B. I assume this is Black Sabbath, but you know, I'm going to treat this one as Black Sabbath. It says Black Sabbath or something. I don't care if it's a cover in this and that. I assume it's Black Sabbath. Sabbath, B tier. Great riffs. I haven't heard up to Dio. I think I'm on. It might be Heaven and Hell I've got to listen to now to move on through the discography. But up until this point, great riffs, great moments. A little bit old school for my liking. Production treats them well. I'm happy with Sabbath. Blur. Don't know enough about Blur. I'm an Oasis head. I'm sure there's a lot of good stuff in their catalogue I appreciate. For that, C tier. Bon Jovi. I've only heard Living in a Prayer. I'm going to put you in the never heard category purely because I haven't heard enough to even warrant giving you a result. Coldplay. Coldplay get a lot of hate. Coldplay are quite morbid within reason. Like their singles are all a bit dreary. But they do write classics. As a singer-songwriter, I appreciate Coldplay. And so, for that, you get C tier. Who the hell is this? Dave Matthews Band? Never heard. Deep Purple, aside from the one we all know, I've never heard. Elvis? Oh. I'm the New King of Rock and Roll? D tier. Evanescence? Bring me back. I used to work with this guy, right? He used to kill that Save Me bit. Save me. It used to crack me up all the time. Evanescence purely because of that dude at the workplace. And even though I've just heard that one song, you get C tier just for that. Faith No More. Faith No More goes in B purely because I've heard one song. And that's that, you had it out, but you can't find it. And that's a banger. That's a great song. For that one song, Faith No More, you're automatically in the realms of Black Sabbath and Rage. I don't make the rules. Foo Fighters. Foo Fighters, I've heard a few singles, and I've now heard their debut album. Their debut album, or Dave's debut album, should I say, considering he wrote the material entirely on that, played all the material. Sorry, like I said, it's late. Dave, for you, my friend, there was a great song on that debut, What Really Was My Cup of Tea. I adored it. And as far as the singles I've heard, they're really good. So, yeah, Foo Fighters, you C tier. You're not up there with the heavy hitters. Gorillaz. Unique. Essentially the first artists to do the whole AI thing. Although you might not classify it as AI, they were definitely ahead. Well, he was definitely ahead of his time creating a band with these characters. For that concept alone, for being so ahead of the time, and the concept of the band, the consistent introduction of artists onto each and every tracks, and the songwriting basis. I used to listen to a couple of Gorillaz tunes back in the day when I was young, and I really enjoyed them. Gorillaz, I'm gonna give you B tier. Green Day. At this point, I've heard a lot of Green Day. My favourite album was Kaplunk. American Idiot was a bit theatrical, but had some fantastic tunes on them. I'm going to give Green Day the benefit of the doubt, right? If Green Day did more ballad, Boulevard of Broken Dreams, where they didn't always go into the distortion, I'd really emphasise you on B. You're going on C. Sorry, I got a lot of Green Day fans on here, but I was going to do B, but I need to be honest. If Green Day had more ballad songs, I'd bang them on B. As of so far, too much distortion, too much. They feel like they can't stay away from the distortion purely because they have to be an alternate band, but Green Day do the ballads really well. That's the best songs in their discography, in my opinion. Guns N' Roses. Guns N' Roses are Guns N' Roses. You're going on to B tier. No questions asked. Who's this? Imagine Dragons? Nah, don't know. Maiden? S tier. I'm not the biggest Iron Maiden fan, but Iron Maiden is Iron Maiden, and I gotta put some respect on Maiden. British. The heavy metal band, in my eyes. People who are into metal know Maiden. People who know bands know Maiden. You know, your average person who might not be that into music might not really get any Maiden references, but your person who likes your indie bands, person who likes your mod bands and so forth, they all know Maiden. Great imagery, timeless riffs, fantastic musicianship, three bloody guitarists. S tier. Janis Joplin, never heard. Aware of You, never heard. Hendrix, overrated. C tier. Kiss, C tier. Good songs, but a lot of filler. A lot of filler. Zeppelin, boom, S tier. Zeppelin influenced me very early on. I fell in love with Led Zeppelin. Adore Led Zeppelin. Absolutely brilliant. Love the band. Love the image. Love the stadium rock. Loved the guitars. Loved John Bonham playing with his hands. Loved the sex appeal of Robert Plant. Loved the multifaceted elements of John Paul Jones. Quality. Linkin Park. I think Linkin Park are brilliant. I haven't listened to them when they've gone pop. I've only listened to, the earlier Linkin Park records, and I'm going to give them A. Linkin Park were shocking. When I started listening to Linkin Park on this channel, I was blown away by the songwriting and the capabilities. And I think Mike Shinoda is one of the most underrated writers of our time. So, straight A tier for Linkin Park. Megadeth. I used to like Megadeth. Now I think Megadeth are corny. As of so far, Megadeth, D tier. As of so far, D tier. Metallica, A tier. I've listened to the Metallica discography up until, it fizzled. I listened to Justice for All and I stopped there. But I've heard singles from there on, from their other albums. I've heard their best riffs from there on. I can't hate on Metallica. I think they've done it well. I think they've got some timeless riffs. Some real technical, yet doesn't sound technical riffs. They're just brilliant at what they do. They're tight. Every metal band wants to be Metallica. They'll lie to you and say they don't. Every metal band wants to be Metallica. Metallica is metal. Even though you call them sellouts, you can say they're not bothered about the band. Metallica is metal. Nirvana, A tier. Really enjoyed listening through to the Nirvana stuff. I think the record Nevermind is A tier. No, it's S tier. Unfortunately, Bleach brings it down, and In Utero is just as good as Nevermind in its own way. But I think, in my personal taste, Nevermind would have just strictly taken it to S. The other two records resolves it at an A. If anything, I would say Bleach is a C tier record. A tier will be, In Utero, and S is Nevermind. Oasis, my favourite band of all time, best songs of all time, best drama of all time, great story, local to me, working class lads, honest tale. No one aside from the label heads funding them. Little bit of background when it came to Noel Gallagher being a roadie for the Inspiral Carpets. A little bit linked into that regards, but other than that, best band going, Oasis. Offspring, I haven't heard too much of the Offspring yet. It seems to be a little bit of a favourite with you fellas on here. But as of so far, I've only listened to two records, the self-titled and Ignite. And right now, I'm not hearing the magic. And for that, unfortunately, Offspring, you're going to be D tier. Because I'm not hearing the punk factor right now. Seems a bit put on. And I'm not hearing the hit songs right now. They've not matured at this level. I really liked Original Prankster back in the day. That was like one of my favourite songs, so give them a bit of respect for that. Pearl Jam. I've only listened to 10, the album 10. And for that, I'll give you C tier. Okay? And that's not because of the entirety of the record. I think the record as a whole wasn't amazing. But I liked Even Flow and the tune I'm Alive. And was it the last tune? There was a song in regards to his dad. or there was a reference of that. Really like that. Floyd, a lot of fluff, but a lot of greatness. Pink Floyd, B tier. I listened to a fair bit of Pink Floyd back in the day, in particular Dark Side of the Moon, Medal, Animals. Those were the records I enjoyed. I got high a lot to the title track, Echoes, off of the album Echoes. Very good times. Queen, D tier. I think Queen are corny. We're going to have a little listen to some Queen, I think, to delve into the discography. I don't know too much, but I know who Queen are. I know the songs, the hit songs. Corny. Can write a good song, don't get me wrong, but not for me. Queens of the Stone Age, D tier. So far, I've listened to their debut, I've listened to their self-titled, D tier. Didn't think much of it. Radiohead, A tier. A lot of varied material, a lot of great progression. If I was to approach it as an artist, I would say they genuinely approach it as art, and that creates beautiful music. The last album I listened to was King of Limbs, and initially going into it, I didn't think too much. Then I heard some brilliant sounds, and then it was a hindsight thing. In hindsight, I looked back at the album and I thought I really experienced something there. It was beyond your traditional listening experience. Radiohead, you get A tier. Red Hot Chilies, I've only reacted to their debut as of so far, and fuck it, B tier. B tier. They've written some completely incredible songs, singles, hit singles, which I've heard. I've heard a bit of Stadium Arcadium back in the day. I really like the song Wet Sand. Love the guitar solo in that. They're a tight band. They've got a great attitude. They're a cool band. And yeah, even listening to their debut, the production value wasn't great, but it was funky as hell. B tier. Rolling Stones, I don't know enough about the Stones, but and I think Stones have definitely got a lot of filler because they've got a lot of material. So C tier. I do like Jagger. I think he's a cool guy. Scorpions, never heard. Pistols, they're good when they're good. They're bland when they're not. C tier. Slipknot, C tier. If they stuck with the material, third record, I've listened to the first 3 records now. Third record, they took a change. Obviously, the songwriting matured. Didn't think much of it. Second album just felt like a dry version of the first album. First album, I thought was amazing. I was blown away by the craft and the intensity of that first album. C tier. Who's this? Soundgarden. Wow, this is going to be kind of tight. Soundgarden ain't my cup of tea. I've had a brilliant patron who has aided me in getting around to doing Soundgarden. We did the debut album and we did was it Ultra Mega OK? That was the debut, Ultra Mega OK, and we did whatever other one, but because of that, you know what I mean, I find it hard to grasp onto the album title by itself. Soundgarden, not my cup of tea. Stone Temple Pilots, never heard. System of a Down, the album Toxicity was really cool to me back in the day. They're very unique. I watched a live set of them. I thought they sounded crap live. They can't pull off that sound live. I don't think they're a live band. On record, you get a B. The Clash, didn't fit much to the first record. Had some good moments. Wide Right, I Wanna Write. Had a lot of filler. Second album, really good. That's as far as I've heard so far of The Clash. Because of that second record, you'll go into B. We got Dylan. Bob Dylan. That's a brutal logo for Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan, B tier. I've listened to, he's got like over 60 records, Bob Dylan. And so many B-sides and live variations. He is a real artist. Bob Dylan, I've heard, the self-titled. I've heard the freewheeling Bob Dylan. I've heard, you know, high upbeat records where he's had the session musicians in and he's redone. I think it's a Highway 61 and Highway 61 Revisited. I enjoyed it. Some great songs. B tier. The Doors, B tier. I enjoyed the Doors back in the Doors. You go and C tier. This day and age, bit too dreary for me. Bit too long-winded for me. Bit too old school for me. I like Jim Morrison though. I do like Jim Morrison. I think Jim Morrison in this state is underrated. Very underrated. The Doors are very underrated in 2023. The kids don't like the Doors. The kids don't care about the Doors. They didn't withstand the test of time, the Doors. White Stripes, never heard. So there we go. Shout out to Iron Maiden, Led Zeppelin and Oasis. A tier, AC/DC, Linkin Park, Metallica, Nirvana and Radiohead. As for the rest, a little bit of work to be done, boys. Let's get that homework done. Without further ado, I'm signing out, people.